Emma Collins stood alone in her quiet kitchen, staring at the rain sliding down the window. The drops moved slowly, like they had nowhere to go, and somehow she understood that feeling. The house was warm, clean, and peaceful, but inside her chest, something felt empty. She held a mug of tea, but it had already gone cold. She hadn't noticed. Her mind was somewhere else, somewhere far from this quiet home she shared with her husband. 5 years ago, Emma had believed this house would be full of laughter, late-night talks, and shared dreams. When she married Daniel Collins, she believed. She had found someone who would walk beside her through everything. He had been kind and gentle, the kind of man who made her feel safe just by being near. After growing up in a home where love was uncertain, Daniel had felt like a promise that life could finally be steady. And in the beginning, it was. They used to talk for hours. They used to cook together, laugh over small mistakes, and fall asleep holding each other. Daniel used to look at her like she was the most important person in the room. Emma remembered those looks clearly. She remembered how they made her feel alive. But slowly, over the years, those moments became fewer. Daniel started working longer hours. At first, Emma understood. He wanted to build a good life for them. He wanted security. She admired his dedication. She supported him, encouraged him, and never complained. But work slowly became his whole world. He left early, he came home late. When he was home, his mind was somewhere else. He answered emails during dinner. He checked his phone during conversations. Sometimes he didn't even realize she was talking. Emma never blamed him. She told herself this was normal. This was adulthood. This was marriage. But deep inside, loneliness began to grow quietly. Didn't arrive all at once. It came in small moments, sitting alone at dinner, watching movies by herself, falling asleep in an empty bed while Daniel worked late again. She stopped sharing her thoughts because he seemed too tired to listen. She stopped expecting anything because disappointment hurt too much. She stopped asking for his attention because she didn't want to feel needy. And slowly, without meaning to, she began to disappear. That evening, Emma checked the clock. It was already past 7 p.m. Daniel had promised to come home early, but she knew what that meant. Her phone buzzed and she picked it up quickly, her heart hoping it was Daniel. "Hey," he said, his voice tired. "I'm sorry. I'll be late again." Something came up. Emma closed her eyes for a second. "That's okay," she said softly. "I'll try not to be too late." She smiled, even though he couldn't see it. "Drive safe." They hung up. Emma stood there for a moment, holding the silent phone. She walked to the dining table, where dinner was already prepared. 2 plates, 2 glasses, 2 chairs. She stared at Daniel's empty chair. After a few seconds, she quietly put his plate back in the kitchen. She wasn't hungry anymore. The silence in the house felt louder than ever. Emma sat down on the couch, pulling her legs close to her chest. She tried to watch television, but her mind kept drifting. She wondered when things had changed so much. She wondered when she had stopped feeling important. Then suddenly the doorbell rang. Emma froze. Daniel never rang the bell. He had keys. She stood up slowly, her heart beating faster for no clear reason. She walked to the door and opened it. Standing there was Linda Collins, Daniel's mother. Emma blinked in. Surprise, Linda. Linda gave her a calm, gentle smile. She looked elegant as always, wearing a long coat and carrying herself with quiet confidence. She looked like someone who always knew exactly what she was doing. "Hello, Emma," Linda said softly. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Emma quickly shook her head. "No, of course not. Please, come in." Linda stepped inside, her eyes quietly observing everything. She didn't say anything, but Emma felt like she noticed every detail. Linda had always been that way. She saw things others didn't. They sat in the living room and Emma brought her tea. For a few minutes they talked about normal things. The weather, Daniel's work, life in general. But Emma noticed something different. Linda seemed more serious than usual. She wasn't just visiting, she was here for a reason. Linda held her teacup but didn't drink from it. Instead, she looked at Emma carefully. Not in a harsh way, in a thoughtful way. "You look tired," Linda said gently. Emma forced a small smile. "I'm fine." Linda didn't respond immediately. She simply kept looking at her. That look made Emma uncomfortable. Not because it was judgmental, but because it was understanding. "Emma," Linda said softly, "are you happy?" The question caught Emma off guard. She didn't know how to answer. No one had asked her that question in years. She opened her mouth, but no words came out, because she didn't know the truth anymore. Linda nodded slightly, as if Emma's silence had answered everything. "I wasn't sure if I should say anything," Linda continued, "but I can't ignore it anymore." Emma felt nervous. "Ignore what?" Linda placed her teacup down carefully. "I see you," she said simply. Emma frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" "I see how hard you try. I see how much love you give, okay? And I see how lonely you've become." Emma's chest tightened. She looked down at her hands. She hadn't realized it was so obvious. Linda reached into her purse and pulled out a small envelope. She placed it on the table between them. Emma stared at it. Her heart began to beat faster. "What is that?" Emma asked quietly. Linda's voice was calm but serious. "It's an offer." Emma looked at her, confused. "An offer?" Linda nodded. "Yes, a chance Emma didn't understand." Linda gently pushed the envelope closer. "To her, I want you to know," Linda said, "this isn't about hurting Daniel. He's my son. I love him. But loving someone doesn't mean ignoring the truth." Emma swallowed nervously. "What truth?" Linda looked directly into her eyes. "The truth is, he doesn't see you anymore. Not the way he should." Emma felt tears form, but she held them back. Hearing those words hurt, because they were true. Inside, Emma felt something break open. She had spent years pretending everything was fine, pretending she was okay, pretending she wasn't slowly fading. Inside her own life, Linda's voice softened. "You had dreams once. You had plans. You were full of energy and hope." Emma remembered those days. She remembered wanting to build a career, to create something meaningful, to become someone she could be proud of. But she had let those dreams go quietly. For love, for stability. For marriage, Linda tapped the envelope gently. "This is a job opportunity in Seattle. A real opportunity. A fresh start." Emma's breath caught. Seattle, a different city. A different life. Her heart raced with fear and excitement at the same time. "I don't understand," Emma whispered. "Why are you giving this to me?" Linda's answer was simple. "Because you deserve to feel alive again." The room fell silent. Emma stared at the envelope. It looked small, but it felt heavy with meaning. This wasn't just paper. It was a choice. A choice between staying the same or becoming someone new. Emma felt guilty for even thinking about it. She loved Daniel. But she also missed herself. Linda stood up slowly. "You don't have to decide now," she said gently. "Just remember, your life belongs to you too." Emma watched her walk toward the door. Before leaving, Linda turned back and said one last thing. "Don't lose yourself while trying to hold on to someone else." Then she left. Emma stood there alone, the envelope still on the table. The house was silent again, but something had changed. For the first time in years, Emma realized she had a choice, and she didn't know yet. That opening that envelope would be the beginning of everything. Emma did not open the envelope right away. After Linda left, she stood in the living room staring at it from across the table. It looked small and harmless, but it carried a weight that made her nervous. She felt like opening it would change something forever. So she left it there and walked away. She went into the kitchen and cleaned dishes that were already clean. She wiped the counter again and again. She tried to focus on normal things, but her eyes kept drifting back toward the envelope. Her heart beat faster every time she looked at it. Hours later, Daniel came home. He looked tired. His shoulders were slightly bent, and his face carried the stress of another long day. He smiled when he saw her, but it was quick and distracted. He kissed her cheek without really looking at her and walked inside. "I'm exhausted," he said, placing his keys. "Down today was crazy." Emma nodded. "Dinner's ready." He sat down and began eating. He talked about meetings, deadlines, and problems at work. Emma listened quietly, watching him. She noticed how he didn't ask about her day. He didn't notice her silence. He didn't notice the envelope sitting just a few feet away. She wanted to tell him. She wanted him to notice something was wrong, but he didn't. That night, Daniel fell asleep quickly. His breathing became slow and steady, peaceful. Emma lay beside him, staring at the ceiling. Her mind was full of thoughts. Linda's words repeated in her head. "You deserve to feel alive again." Emma turned her head and looked at Daniel. He looked calm, safe, familiar. He was her husband, the man she had chosen, the man she still loved. But love didn't erase loneliness. She realized something painful in that moment. She had spent years protecting his comfort while quietly hurting herself. She never asked for more. She never demanded attention. She accepted less, hoping it would be enough, but it wasn't enough anymore. The next morning, Daniel left early, kissed her goodbye quickly, and rushed out the door. Emma stood there, listening to the sound of his car disappearing. The house became silent again. Her eyes moved slowly toward the envelope. This time, she walked to it. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. She hesitated for a moment, then opened it carefully. Inside was a letter, a real job offer, a marketing position at a respected company in Seattle. Her heart raced as she read it. The salary was good. The opportunity was real. This wasn't a dream or an empty promise. At the bottom of the letter, she saw Linda's handwriting. "You deserve to feel alive again." Emma sat down slowly. She remembered the woman she used to be. She remembered her confidence, her energy, her dreams. She remembered believing she could build something meaningful. But over time, she had put those dreams aside. She told herself she was choosing love. She told herself she was choosing stability. But now she wondered if she had slowly abandoned herself. Days passed, and Emma carried the secret quietly. She didn't tell Daniel. She didn't tell anyone. But inside, something was changing. She began waking up earlier. She took more care in how she dressed. She started reading again. She looked at herself in the mirror longer, trying to reconnect with the person she had forgotten. She wasn't unhappy with Daniel. She was unhappy with who she had become. One evening, Emma sat alone in the living room, holding the letter again. She imagined what life in Seattle would look like. A new city, a new job, a new beginning. She imagined waking up in a place where no one knew her past. She imagined feeling alive again. But then she imagined life without Daniel. That thought hurt. The most, she loved him. Even now, she didn't want to replace him. She wanted to be seen by him. That same night, Daniel came home earlier than usual. Emma heard the door open and felt surprised. He walked in slowly, looking different, nervous. "Emma," he said softly. She looked up. "You're home early." He nodded. "Yeah." He sat down across from her, his hands slightly shaking. "Can we talk?" he asked. Emma felt her heartbeat faster. "Of course." Daniel looked at her carefully, like he was seeing her clearly for the first time in years. "I feel like I've been losing you," said quietly. Emma froze. "I don't know when it started," he continued, "but something feels different. You seem distant, and it scares me." Emma didn't know what to say. She had waited so long to hear those words. Daniel looked down. "I thought working harder was the right thing to do," he said. "I thought I was building a better future. For us. But I didn't realize what it was costing. Emma felt tears form in her eyes. Daniel looked back at her. I miss you, he said honestly. Those words broke the wall she had built inside herself. For years, it waited for him to notice, and now he finally did. Emma took a deep breath. There's something I need to show you, she said. She handed him the letter. Daniel read it slowly. His face changed, his eyes filled with fear. You're leaving? He asked quietly. Emma shook her head. I don't know. Daniel's voice trembled. Do you want to leave? Emma hesitated. She didn't want to lie. I want to feel alive. Again, she said softly. Daniel closed his eyes. I didn't realize how much I hurt you. He whispered. Emma saw pain in his face. Real pain, not guilt. Not anger, fear. Fear of losing her. I never stopped loving you, he said. I just stopped showing it. Emma felt tears fall down her face. She realized something important in that moment. Oh my. She never needed a new life. She needed honesty. She needed to be seen. Daniel reached for her hand. I don't want to lose you, he said. His voice was full of emotion she hadn't heard in years. Emma looked at him carefully, for the first time in a long time. He wasn't distracted. He wasn't distant. He was present. Fully present. She saw the man she fell in love with. I never wanted to leave, she said. I just wanted to matter. Daniel held her hand tighter. You matter more than anything,